I feel like that learning has to do with your mood, and it's when your positive attitude engages your mind, so then you're open to learning new things and it's open to taking it up.
Yeah, and sleep is supposed to help you with that, but would you rather work your brain longer? Like, because when you work your brain, it's supposed to make it stronger. But if you're like sleeping over half the time, then it's just your brain's resting and it's getting all the aggressive out.
But when you rest, you don't rest all the time or half the time. You just rest for like 8 hours maybe.
Yeah.
Instead of like 12 a day. Jenna, do you have any ideas on this?
I felt that the information about the brain was very outstanding and that I learned a lot from it.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on this, Colin?
My thoughts are don't sleep, just stay awake all day working your brain, because it still should benefit it according to some of the stuff.
Yes, but when you sleep, it gets out all the bad toxins in your brain.
Now I'm starting to sound like a commercial. Sleep gets rid of toxins in your brain.
So you're saying that if you stay awake more, you're gonna have a better option than not sleeping?
I understand like his staying awake, because when you stay awake, it's working your brain because you're learning new things. But if you don't get sleep, then your brain's not going to be able to stay awake and work because you get tired after a certain amount of time of work. So.
You can stay awake.
What do you think was the most helpful strategy that we did with this?
I don't know. I didn't really find many helpful strategies, considering I already practiced some of these. But it would probably be the shutting off devices at a certain amount of time.
Yeah. What about you, Jenna?
I thought note taking was the best strategy because it would like help you remember the information and then you would also have it in front of you to go back.
I also found that note taking was good, but like in reading in a group, it distracted me because I can't focus on the people instead of what's going on.
I thought reading with a partner was better than reading in a group.
Yeah, because it's only one
What
person.
evidence do you have to back that up with?
Some from the articles.
Like reading with all the strategies, like the post-it paragraph and the what, so what, and now what.
And note taking, it seemed to be on paper that would help.
Yeah, and writing it down helps you memorize it in your brain.
What about you, Colin?
What did you find most helpful?
Well, I didn't really find many of them helpful.
You didn't find any of them helpful?
None of them seemed to be helpful in any way.
Did you attempt to practice it?
Or like, what did you learn from all of our articles and reading?
I learned that you should probably sleep, but at the same time you should also work your brain. So I made the decision that just staying up all the time, never sleeping, should work.
But if you work your brain more, like, I don't know, like, the more that you work, you get tired, so your brain might get tired too.
You can stay up for a good 3 days and just sleep for another day, and then you continue working at the same time.
No, but you need to sleep every day so you can get all the bad toxins out of the day. And if you stay awake for 3 days and only have like a day of sleep, then you're not getting rid of all the toxins that was in 3 days.
As long as you get stuff done, I don't see the problem.
Well, Paxton, what do you feel was most significant?
I thought that like how to talk in front of a large group of people for communication, learning how to talk in front of a group or talking to people without like spacing off or like losing your interest in it. What about you, Jenna?
You're focusing.
Colin? How did you feel like what most helped you learning about how to communicate?
Well, I was able to communicate before this, so I don't think anything helped me.
What about talking in front of large groups? Like, were you good at talking in front of a group of people, or like your classmates? Or did you just like being by yourself and talking just to one person?
Talking to one person is better.
Yeah.
Yeah, working as a class was more helpful. It seemed like, say, helping and within the atmosphere would be better if everybody was working together.
Yeah. What is something that you've learned about yourself as a learner through this unit?
I learned that you can accomplish more stuff as a group or individual
What's that?
because you can learn more.
By working with two people, like more than one person?
Yep.
Okay. I thought that what I learned about me was that I need to get more sleep because I didn't usually get a lot of sleep, and I need to release the bad toxins out of my brain.
We're on the things with attitude.
Yeah,
Keeping
a positive attitude.
and also sleep. Yeah, sleep would help keeping a positive attitude.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Colin?
Well, sure.
It's the last one.
Yeah. I learned that I'm not sure.
No.
What did you say?
I learned that I need sleep to focus.
Yeah. Sleeping does help you focus, so then staying up a long time wouldn't be good.
But you could get stuff done.
Yes, but if you don't get enough sleep, then you won't focus and you won't get as much stuff done.
If you think about it, you get stuff done when you're sleeping as well because your body is relaxing and you're releasing all the toxins and just doing something for you.
Not doing anything for the tasks I have by the way.
Well, if you get sleep, like you said on your thing that sleeping helps you focus, if you don't get sleep, then you can't focus and you won't get anything done.
Good point.
What is evidence that you guys would have the back? Or what did you find most helpful in the
Learning about like the sleep, that needing sleep is actually helping you. So if you don't get enough sleep, then your brain won't function as well as it would if you got more sleep.
what are your thoughts?
Same.
Okay. Colin, do you still think that you should not have any sleep?
No. You should probably an hour.
An hour? Is that what you said?
No, I now realize that.
Oh. How long do you think you should get sleep? Like how many hours?
Probably about 8.5.
How many hours do you sleep do you get, Jenna?
8.
Since sleep seems to be a topic that you were interested in during the unit, has that information affected your sleep habits?
No.
Yeah, I don't know if I have been going to bed earlier, but I've definitely learned that getting more sleep will help me focus more.
I have been sleeping the same even after, so I didn't really change my habits at all.
Did you, Jenna?
No, I haven't changed my habits.
I didn't really change my routine, but I've started to realize that I need to not stay up as
Yeah.
As long as you get 1 hour sleep, it's still sleeping.
Yeah, it's not enough time to let your body release all the toxins.
Okay, is that it? Good.
What are your ideas about sleep?
Yeah. What do you think about sleep? Like,
What do you mean?
like how should you sleep? Like what?
In a dark room.
Okay.
How do you feel sleep affects you if you get more of it compared to less of it?
How does sleep affect you? Like how does it make you work better like the next day?
It gives you more energy.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're done. So.
Okay, ooh, snap.
I was trying to put Jenna on the spot.
Okay, outside circle. What did the inside circle do well? Outside circle.
Talking through what they're all saying.
Yeah, talking through. Okay, and what do you mean by that exactly? Talking through. Okay, they shared. All of them shared their opinions. What happened? What's a little bit more of that talk through part? Because they all shared their opinions, but what else happened? Okay, they did agree mostly. They gave reasons. They kept coming back to a certain subject, and so they kept the conversation going. Good. What else did they do well? Yep, they asked a lot of questions, trying again to keep that conversation going and digging deeper into an understanding. Good. What else? Can you hear them on the outside? Okay, good. Anything else? Did everyone share?
Yes.
Yeah. And people were invited to continue to share. So that's really good. That's awesome. And like I had mentioned before, in a small group, this is different than in a larger group. So the dynamics are a little bit different. But you kept the conversation going very
Jeff is
well.
a lot like
You
me.
continued to question when there was a low. Okay, outside circle, what are some things that you will do differently to improve?
Not laugh, but I say that.
Okay, because it
Yeah.
keeping in that serious academic tone and register is important because it helps propel the conversation forward versus the opposite. But what else?
When someone asks you a question, like, explain what you had.
Okay,
Not just say, like, one word or something.
right. Elaborate, explain with elaboration. Good.
Yeah, like how Jenna said, just same instead of explaining.
Okay. Yeah, because that helps. That evidence is what builds the conversation and the understanding. And one thing that I noticed, it's the only time that I entered the conversation, was when I was trying to get more depth on the one topic that they were really discussing a lot, which was sleep. You can diverge from that, diverge from that, and go into more than just one topic, because there were 4 main questions, and each one of those could go into different areas. Because what this conversation ended up being mostly about was sleep, which is fine, because that was of most interest, evidently. But now the second conversation, the second round, can diverge from that and get into even more of our metacognition and communication. Okay. What else will you keep in mind? Keep the volume up. Keep the good eye contact and energy going. Okay, wonderful. All right, so very quickly and quietly switch places. The outside circle now, make sure you have a piece of paper and know which tracker you are, whether you are an evidence tracker, a discussion connection tracker, or a summarizer. You can sit down. Ms. Hartwick, what does evidence do? You're writing down, or no, this is discussion. Actually, since I'm gonna have to be the evidence, that's what I'm about. Our evidence tracker. Evidence, you're tracking who uses what evidence. The evidence, did we have a lot of evidence?
No.
No, that's another thing that I would love for the insight, or the round two people.
Can I write those things?
Yes, draw a line and, yep, put
That's more.
your name. Okay, so using more evidence, the textual evidence, the texts that we read and studied, the videos, the audios that we listened to and watched.
That's evidence.
Yep, those are the pieces of evidence that we can use. Your personal experiences are evidence. And that is what your prep sheets, what you've already included on your prep sheets. So refer back to that each time as you're entering a new discussion part. Okay?
I need a piece of paper.
Content.
So does Paul.
We are talking about the metacognitive unit. So, what do you feel is the most significant and helpful information you learned in this unit?
I feel like learning how to learn is probably the most important because you need to learn how to learn before you can actually get into other things.
I agree with Jacob on that because you have to know what helps you the most when you're trying to learn something.
Joseph?
I also agree with Jacob.
Something that I thought was important was that your brain is like a muscle. So when you use it, it keeps getting stronger and stronger. And something you need for your brain to do that is to sleep. What evidence did you guys have to support that?
I didn't have any evidence.
Well, when you sleep more, your brain releases toxins that build up over time, and that helps you learn better.
Do you agree with that, Bob?
Yeah.
What learning or reading strategies did you find most helpful, Jacob?
What?
What reading strategy did you use the most? Or
What were some of the reading strategies that we practiced?
Note taking.
Okay, well that's for note take listening, but for reading, we did the post-it paragraph summary.
jigsaw reading?
We did the 3 big questions. We did a specific note taking for main ideas. We did regular annotation.
I had learning strategies.
What do you feel is the most significant and helpful information that you learned in the communication portion of the unit?
Feel that types of communication like verbal and nonverbal and signs and others helped me learn. It helps us understand the types of communication.
That you have to be more specific if you're using verbal communication, but if you just make if you use nonverbal, I guess people sort of get kind of what you're trying to get at, I guess.
I thought that the communication process, like the message and the feedback and the decoding and encoding, was most helpful information for me. What do you think, Jacob?
I agree on that because you need to decode what people are saying so you understand it better.
Would you guys agree with this statement? That the communication process was very helpful?
Yeah, I agree.
What is something that you've learned about yourself as a learner through this year?
That you can always learn more, even if you. At first, I didn't think that maybe I couldn't learn more, but after this unit, I know that I can, because the brain is like a muscle.
I learned that sleep affects our future lives and can hurt you really bad and it can create toxins in your brain.
I learned that if I write something out, then normally I can understand better.
Mine is similar to yours. I think that when you write stuff down, it'll help you. You'll remember it more than when you're just looking at something. I also think that a better attitude towards the things we're learning during class is very effective.
Looking back on the sleep part, that an event going on right now is teen sleep deprivation, and they will probably continue in the future. And I wonder how it will affect them in the future, if it affects us like it does today or not.
So
What do you think, Jacob?
That we should get our full 8 hours of sleep.
So you think sleep is really crucial for coming to school and learning all of the understanding and learning all the stuff that we are taught?
Yeah.
How will that affect your future career goals? Sleep in your particular career that you like?
It could, well, I have to follow a sleep schedule that changes a lot, so I don't really know.
How many hours of sleep do you get a night?
It's about like 7 or 8.
About you?
Well, I try to get some.
You?
I usually get like 6 or 7.
So on the days that you don't get enough sleep, do you come to school and not understand what we're learning, or do you not pay attention, or what do you do that's different from the days that you get enough sleep? You're ready to go to school.
It's normally about the same for me.
If I don't get enough sleep, I don't generally feel like
You?
If I don't get enough sleep, it's harder for me to learn, but not impossible.
What other learning strategies
some of
did
the
we talk about?
learning strategies help me with note taking, helps me group the main ideas, and it can also link to events that happened in my life and stories that I read. We also took notes on everything you know about sleep is wrong with Dr. Matthew Walker. It helped me really learn how to take notes and link my personal connections to the podcast. Also wrote questions and had some ideas, so I wrote down.
I also thought that note taking was a good reading strategy. The day that we did the jigsaw reading in class was very helpful. You didn't have to read the whole article, but you still understood everything that was in it by having other people telling you what they read.
The jigsaw reading also helped me a little bit because you don't have to read as much as you normally would, and is you also have to summarize it again, so you have to pay attention to what you read.
I disagree with the jigsaw reading. I didn't really like it. I think it was something that really helped me.
Why do you think that?
I just didn't like it. It's
What was one of the reading strategies or learning strategies that helped you?
The note taking, and I like the jigsaw because I have a hard time reading, and I didn't have to read everything. So
What overall learning might you, or conclusion about learning might you come up with that not everyone liked all of the different strategies? What conclusion can you come up with about learning, since not everyone liked the same reading strategies or learning strategies?
Do something different, have more strategies that other people like and that they can understand when using them.
Stop you there. And come up with the conclusion that what you had just said. I'll add to the idea that having more strategies helps you to know. It's like a tool in your toolbox. The more strategies you have, the more options you have in learning. So sometimes certain strategies will work and you can pick those up and use them, and other times they won't work, so you need a different strategy to pick up and use. And not everyone's learning is the same. So very good. Okay, outside circle. What did our inside circle do well? They spoke. Yes, everyone spoke and shared. Good.
They all tried.
They all asked questions and
Gave their information. Asked questions. Did we?
had really good long thinking pauses and they're talking.
Okay, they did have pauses, and it wasn't. You guys might have felt it was awkward because so often, silence is awkward for our generation or this generation. Silence is awkward, and you handled it well. You, especially Morgan, did a nice job of coming up with other questions to propel that conversation, propel the discussion forward, which is fabulous. Yeah. Anything else? Did they use evidence more, less, or about the same as the first group?
I don't know. I only heard Joseph say about like the article from the Dr. Matthew.
Okay, yeah, evidence that was very specific, and that helped us all connect to that shared experience. That evidence, we all had read it, or that one was listening. We all listened to it, so we knew exactly what he was referring to. We could have identified our evidence much more specifically all the way through both rounds. So that's next time something that we'll want to improve on. Using that evidence, because as soon as you cite your evidence, everybody goes, "Oh yeah, that article," and it makes a bigger, deeper connection for the people who you're discussing with to work from in the discussion. Anything else? All right, good job. What I'd like you to do now is to turn over to your rubric I want you to put a star on each box of the skills that you actually accomplished. You might be putting stars on skills that you hadn't specifically said you were going to use, but you see that you use them anyway. Good job.